Hello, 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 and welcome to the Blue Oval Podcast. I am Ben Weissel, and joining me, as always, Gareth Allen. How's it going, man?
Ben, what happened to the days when you could, take a couple weeks after the indoor track season, you kind of decompress, you go visit, anyone who you need to after being hunkered down for the winter months. What happened to that? What happened to that instead of the like, hey, the entire NCAA landscape and everything that you've ever known about it will completely be altered within 1 week before you even get into the month of April. What happened to those days, Ben?
Yeah, this is definitely the fastest Raleigh relays weekend that I can remember. I remember maybe, oh gosh, this is going to be dating me a little while, but like 6 or 7 years ago when I was just
Oh no.
starting to run, I remember like some of the Villanova guys, like the Casey Comer and those kind of guys putting down some pretty quick times, but not NCAA record performances by any stretch of the imagination. And then it's just like, I feel like with the outdoor season, it's so dependent on, hey, do you just like hit the weather correctly? Unless you're in California for the 10 and the weather's always perfect. But like, especially with these like Eastern part of the U.S. Events, if you hit the weather perfectly, these guys are these men and women are so primed to run super fast, and that's exactly what we saw.
Yeah, I was just like, guys, I was like, well, I was like, Raleigh relays, like, it'll be some fast times. It won't be
Yeah,
anything too crazy. And then 10, like, like it's not an Olympic year, so surely it's not going to be quite as crazy. I was wrong there again. But neither this nor that. We can all get into that, into this podcast. Of course, ratings and reviews. Let's do that. I think we have one on Spotify plus one on Spotify,
one
none
new
on
on
Apple.
Spotify. Yeah,
Yeah.
192 now, so we're getting close to 200. Apple's really lagging behind though.
Tough look for Apple. The season has not started for Apple. Really hasn't since the winter began, but that's not the
No.
point. It's neither here nor there. Ben, also go check out YouTube. Ton of interviews there. A lot of great interviews from Raleigh Relays. Donnie did an amazing job. We're getting a lot more traction there. So go check out YouTube. Ben, we have more to talk about than I think you and I expected to talk about. Let's get into it. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with NCAA record-breaking performances in the 1500 on the men's side. We saw 3 men go under the previous NCAA record. Liam Murphy, Margot Langon, and Gary Martin all running 3:33, with Murphy taking home the win at the Raleigh Relays. Who out of this result changed, like made you change your opinion of them the most with this result?
God, I hate this question. Um, I don't even know. I is it Martin? Like, is it fair to say Martin? Like, he ran under the collegiate record. Yes, he lost to two guys that I think he should have beat, but like, can you really criticize him for losing to two guys who also ran under the collegiate record? It's at the same time, it's like, well, he is, the second best miler in the country. He ran 3:48. He
Mm-hmm.
was probably the second best overall distance runner in the country this past winter. He's now in his primary event, but this is the second time that he's lost this duo.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really changes a lot dramatically, but I do think it slightly humanizes Martin. And I think
Mm.
it shows us that Murphy and Langon really aren't that far off from the Martin Strand tier.
Yeah, I was gonna say Langon, just because like we've seen him run these really fast performances and beat these guys, but I feel like 3:33. You could have told me, hey, Liam Murphy runs that at some point, and I would have been like,
Sure.
okay, yeah, sure. That's probably on the outside, the highest end of my expectations, right?
Sure.
I don't think I had expectations of Langon ever running 3:33. Like that just seemed that level of foot speed just seemed like a little too far. So I mean, he just keeps breaking through his ceiling race
Mm-hmm.
after race after race, and obviously we saw him kind of go for it and the NCAA championships at times because he thought he could actually win, and that seemed a little foolish from our perspective, because like, hey, like you look at who you're racing against. Do you really think you can beat them? But I think this kind of performance is probably validating to that approach of like, yes, he is that good. And I think he can run with pretty much anyone in the country, especially if you're looking at like the 3K down, probably the 5K down as well at this point. He's just that good. I mean, if he can back this up with another strong 5K performance, I think we're talking about someone who's still flying under the radar just because he's competing with the Murphys, the Martins, the Strands of the world. And any other year, he's one of the best distance running seasons of all time.
Yeah, he's maybe like the best, in that year. And, we're like, is he top 5? And which is like a weird question. You're right. I think it's Langon. And I think Langon is probably the guy who probably you rethink things about, because initially I would have been like, hey, the 5K is his best event. And now you run this and you're like, whoa. Like, so here's my question to you then. Murphy and Langon, what do they run at the national meet? Is it the 15 or is it the 5K?
Man. I feel like I need to do a quick refresher on what Murphy's performances have been at the national meets.
Murphy was, well, Murphy over 1,500 meters has not exactly fared well from an All-American honors perspective.
Yeah.
He also was 11th in the 5K this past winter, was 4th in the 3K. Langon was 6th in the 5K. I don't know what he was in the 3K.
In the 3K, he was 7th. So, I still think.
Because here's where I find myself conflicted with. I think Murphy and Langon are arguably at their best over 1,500 meters, and I think this race definitively shows that. And I also think that they've proven that they can take down and defeat Gary Martin multiple times, mind you.
Yeah.
But the 1,500 is, if everyone goes in on it, and I find it hard to believe that Strand will go for the 5K over the 15. Strand will almost certainly go for the 15. So you have Martin and Strand who will almost definitely go for the 1,500 meters, unlike they did in the winter. You add in Green, you add in Tefra. The men's 1,500 meters is probably and almost certainly definitively harder to compete in than it is the 5K. And yet the 15 is probably the Murphy and Langon's best event. So what does that leave them with?
Yeah, and I'm balancing also the fact that Murphy just hasn't done very well at national championships in the 1,500 mile, and that's the thing that keeps sticking in the back of my mind. And I wanted to look that up to make sure I was remembering that correctly, because I think on paper you look at his results and you would say absolutely do 1,500. Just this is clearly the event that you're the best at, but we haven't seen that come together at national championships. And I don't know if it's a matter of peaking correctly. I don't know if it's a mental, we could speculate on for days about what the issue is, because clearly the talent is there. So, I don't like saying this because I always like to say, hey, just run your best event. But I think that's the 5K still for these guys, because you look at this 5K field.
So that includes Langon.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe Langon. I think he has a better. I think I would want him to do the 1,500 more than I would want Murphy, because there isn't that scar tissue or whatever with the 1,500 meter prelims and the mile prelims. But I mean, you look at this the prospective 5K field, and it's good, but I don't think there's anybody on this list that you don't think they could beat, right? I mean, Brian Massau won the national title. I mean, Hartman Samuel probably comes in as the favorite, but I don't think there's anybody that Langon and Murphy would say, hey, we can't beat this guy. Like, I think they really have a good shot at winning in the 5K just as much as they do in the 15. And there isn't that like predominant favorite that they don't think they can't outkick, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Wolf is, we don't think, at 100%.
Yeah.
You could probably throw him in there, so you're not sure about him. Hartman Samuel, you're like, hey, I still like our chances against him in a 5K, even if he's fresh. And he's going to probably come off of that 10K, we'll talk about that later. So I agree. I still just kind of like the 5K. Like, even if it's honest, I mean, these guys are just fit enough to hang. Just be there at the end. And now that's way easier said than done. but that's neither here nor there. Gary Martin, 333. Does it matter?
I think good performance, again, validating. I think you're stacking good performance after good performance. Now, would I have preferred that he win this? Yeah, but I don't. It's he put himself in good position, and he just got beat by two guys that are really really good. One more point on Murphy and Langon. It would be really cool from a spectator's point of view if we saw all these guys in the 1500 meter. That
It would
1500
be.
meter would be an bloodbath. Like, and we'll talk
Zach and
about
Adam Spencer, Fawad Saudi.
exactly. And so we'll talk more about some of these other guys now who also ran super fast times. This event is absolutely loaded. So you mentioned Adam Spencer, 335, ran that in Australia. Fawad Masaudi, 335 at the 10. I mean, again, both of these guys, we know they have this talent, so this isn't super surprising, but neither of them have really the best season of their career in the winter, and now they're coming out and running very strong to start the outdoor season, which is exciting to see because them at their best, really, I mean, outside of that, the top five that we're maybe putting together right now or really, I guess top six if you include Murphy, Langon, Martin,
Yeah.
Green, Tefra, and Strand. Outside of that top six, like I think Spencer and Masaudi have the best shot of breaking into that top six. Like I don't really think there's anybody else that has the potential of running as fast as any of those top six names do.
Well, I think there's guys who have the potential to run as fast, but are just not as fully refined as maybe they are. Like Justin Kipkurui has literally run 332, right?
Yeah,
like, so there's that aspect. And I do think he's going to be better on the outdoor oval. I also just don't think it's going to matter because the other guys, there's eight guys who you would fill out as the All-American favorites that could each individually win the title at their very, 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 very best. Now, I don't know if we're going to get their very, 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 very best, but the point stands.
Yes.
The 15's loaded. It's insane. Question before we move on to a few of these other 1500 performances from Raleigh relays. Will the men's 1500 meter record of 333.02 be broken again at some point this season?
Yes.
Yes, I think so too. I think it'll.
Yeah, I mean, there's Brian Clay. Like that's as long as there isn't anything weird happening with the weather around that time, I think Brian Clay, they're going to be targeting. They're going to be pacing that for like 331, 332. I would imagine.
I think it's almost definitely going to be 332. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move off of that. We'll also just, I guess, sticking with the 1500s. In that same Raleigh Relays 1500 fields, you had Cornell's Damian Hackett and Texas A&M's Cooper Cawthorn run 336. And Cornell's Pierre Itigobi and Yale's Owen Karras each run 337. Three additional men ran 339. Big day for the Ivy Leagues here. Or pretty much anyone who goes to an academic power. But the point being, guys are now running 336 and they're not in the All-American conversation.
Well, and we're not really talking about guys running sub 340 anymore. Like that's just that's all right. You're making it to regionals. Good job.
I wonder. Oh my gosh! I wonder what the cutoff time is going to be.
I know it's going to be ridiculous. I mean, we're already at. Let's see how many men have run, and now this is for both sides. So okay, we're only at 11 men total. That have run.
I'm looking at whatever last year's was. The last year's total of sub 340 men in the nation was 26.
Oh yeah, that's gonna get.
That's demolished
destroyed.
That. Yeah. I don't know why that's so low. We'll destroy that this year.
Yeah, they're going to double that.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a world where, the 1500 meter cutoff time is at 340 or something like that? But
I don't think so.
It won't be.
Yeah,
right?
That's crazy. I'm still holding on to my 342 that I still think would make it into the regional meet, but I don't think probably not after this year.
342 would make it into the East Regional.
Yeah, probably not anymore. It's probably going to be 341 at this point.
Because all these Raleigh guys, I think they're all, unless Texas A&M, you want to consider that, because those guys are all East, right?
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you. I don't think you're 342 gets into East.
Probably not. That's crazy.
Any quick thoughts on Hackett, Cawthorn, Itigobi, Karras? Like, I love all of these guys. I've been very
Yeah,
high on these guys for a while. Never did I think that they would be running as fast as they just did this season. And if you had told me that they would, I didn't think that they would do it in the last week of March. So, any thoughts before we move
right.
on?
Yeah, I think for Hackett, we've always known that he's a pretty strong tactical runner. He's done well. He made it to the national meet last year. I think the fact that he's this fit now it makes him dangerous, right? He's one of those guys that you get to the national meet and you're looking at the prelims and you're just like, I'm sorry, dude, you're not making to the finals. There's no chance. Like look at the 8 guys we just rattled
That's what
off
happened
plus
last year.
and yet I think he'll probably find a way. And so I think this is really really good sign for him. For Kothra, validates everything that we were saying about him last week with the most improved conversation. He looks great. And then these other guys, it's hard to say. Like 337, I feel like used to really mean a lot, and now it's hard to say. All right, I don't know where this puts you. The Ivy League 1500 meter is about to be really, really exciting to watch. That Heps is going to be fantastic in the 15, but I don't. It's hard for me to give like a national perspective on 337s at this point, which is crazy.
I just struggle to believe that 337 doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, here's
No,
the thing.
it does, but it just
It
doesn't.
does. I'm not saying it doesn't, and it does mean something. Like 337 is still fast, but like I have to be honest, I'm not 100% certain that all 7 of these top men in the men's 1500 meters right now, I guess top 9 if you include Masaudi and Spencer, I'm not confident that every single one of them will make the national meet.
I would bet you that at least one does not. I feel very confident that at least one does not.
And that's what blows my mind. But that said, Pierre Jagobi, if I'm saying that right, is only a sophomore. He is a problem. He was great since the moment he stepped into Cornell. He's way more mature from a racing standpoint than he ever should be as a sophomore. Owen Karas has been great for a little bit now. This is finally the performance. I don't think these performances are flukes. Like I've seen enough from these guys to think that I really don't think they're flukes. Does that mean I'm 100% confident that every single one of those 9 guys will get into the national meet? No, but that's that. So
yeah, I mean, you could, especially at Jagobi, like you look at his indoor performances. This kind of race was coming. They were around 221 in the K, 356 in the mile. Like to run 337, yeah, that's better than all of those marks, but it's not worlds different. And you get in the right race, your fitness is peaking. 337s in the cards. So yeah, I mean, I would love to say more because it's an amazing result. But this 1500 meters is so loaded that I can't like we're saying, I can't say, hey, you're definitely going to be in the national meet. I can't say you're definitely going to be in the All-American picture because that would be disingenuous of me considering how much of the season we still have left.
I completely agree. I 100% agree. So let's move off of that. We'll go to the actually, you know what? We're going to stay off of the 1500. We'll come back to the 1500. Let's talk about more collegiate records. Why not? We're here. Let's talk about them. Ben, I'm, of course, talking about the 10 in San Juan Capistrano, California. Don't correct me if I'm saying that wrong. I tried, okay?
You said it confidently, so I think
I said it with a little pizzazz, a little accent, is it probably butchered? 100%, but work with me. In that race, it is Ishmael Kipkurui running 26:50, of New Mexico. His teammate, Halfton Samuel, running 26:51. Those are now the top 2 collegiate times in NCAA history for 10,000 meters, breaking Nico Young's former record of 26:52 from this same meet last year. In that same race, you also had Casey Klinger running 27:11 for NCAA number 5 all-time, Dennis Kipnigenich of Oklahoma State running 27:20 for NCAA number 6 all-time, and Valentin Soko running 27:37 for NCAA number 15 all-time. Thoughts?
I mean, if you look at this all-time list, the guys that they're rubbing shoulders with is pretty ridiculous. Like Nico Young, Sam Chalanga, Cam Levins, Steven Sambu, Leonard Courier, Chris Derrick, Galen Rupp, Mohamed. Like
Galen Rupp is no longer in the top 10 all time.
Yeah, I mean, and neither is Mohamed. Like these guys have defined international running for North America over the last decade. It's nuts, and I mean, for it to be Kipkurui who was the one who took down everyone in this field. How surprised were you about that? I mean, obviously, him running fast, I think, was certainly in the cards, especially with what he's shown in the indoor season. But for him to beat Samuel, to beat Wildshut, to beat Graham Blanks, that I think was really, really impressive.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and that's where I think I'm at a 7. So I think I'm at a surprise level of 7. Was that what you would have said?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's not surprising to see him up around here and running fast, but to take down the names he did is fairly surprising, but not stunning considering where he's been at.
I would agree. And that's the thing. He's run 13:02, right? He's run stupid fast for 2 miles in the 3K, right? Like you could see the raw, like unreal fitness, just raw talent, he just exuded that in every race he showed a little bit of just, like of just ability to race in crowded fields by being an All-American this past winter, right? Like there was clearly some kind of like, hey, he's quickly acclimating, like he's learning and he's developing. I agree though, to defeat all those guys, I'm not necessarily shocked that he ran that fast in today's day and age. I'm just never shocked about anyone running that fast. But to see the kick that he employed off of such an aggressive pace, that's what really got me. Usually I would be extremely cautious about, hey, this guy's an international name, not really familiar with maybe some tactics, how the NCAA operates, some championship performances. He's not as experienced as maybe Hartman Samuel is. He might be too aggressive, but everything that I saw, not just from the time, not just from the kick, but the intangibles that I saw from him in this race makes me think, hey, I think this is legit. Like, I think he can legitimately be a national title favorite. And yeah, he broke the collegiate record. I get it. But not everyone who runs fast is automatically like a collegiate title favorite. I actually do think this applies to him. I think he's actually plenty worthy of being a favorite.
And I think that's what we said after the national meet was look out for him. Once he gets his tactics down, he can beat pretty much anybody. And I think we both thought it would be another year or so, not a couple of weeks before that seemed to click into place. And obviously there's still room to grow. Like this is a very much a time trial atmosphere. It's much easier to have your tactics down straight in this kind of environment than it is in a national meet. But it is a good sign that he is progressing. It seems like he is picking up experience faster than you would expect from someone with his limited amount of time in the NCAA. And 55.8 close for a 400 is what you need to be able to do to win. At least you need to be able to do to win a national title in any event.
I think they went sub 2 the last 800.
Oh, he ran 156.
Is that what the split was?
Yeah, he ran 150. Yeah, so he was. I mean, that I think is what I point to as, hey, he can absolutely do this. Like the fact that you can close that quickly is what is a prerequisite nowadays in the NCAA to winning a national title, unless you're just that much better than everyone else.
Oh, you said 55.8 too. I thought you said 58, and I was like, I thought I was faster than that.
Yeah, no, 55.
Yeah, no, 55 is cooking.
Yes,
that's really cooking. Hartman Samuel 26.51, probably the least surprising result I've ever seen from him.
He literally ran basically the same exact thing from last year.
Yeah, he was phenomenal, excellent. But Kipkurui just, I think, had a better day. I still think Samuel's the better overall.
Yes, I would trust him more.
Yeah, not by a lot though. Like, so not question Kipkurui. What does he run in the 5K? How fast?
12:56.
I don't know if I'm there yet.
I
think I'm like 13 flat, 13:01.
No, I think he goes, if again, so much of it matters about the environment, right? Do they actually chase it? And
I'm
so
sure they would. Gosson has been very aggressive with his guys chasing times.
Yeah, so I think if he's in the right scenario, I think he runs under 13 and I think fairly comfortably.
I don't think he runs 12:56.
Yeah, I mean that's very aggressive. I
Maybe.
don't think I want to blame
I
you
also
for
didn't
putting it
think that
just
they were
that.
gonna run as fast as they did now,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've
I
watched
mean, that's the thing. Like, you run 26:50. That's, I mean, it's a 13:25 like average. So it's like for him to run 26 like 30 seconds
yeah,
faster in
yeah.
half the distance isn't, to me, unreasonable.
Yeah, don't use logic. I don't like that. All right, the other guys here: Casey Klinger of BYU, 27:11; Dennis Gedich, 27:20; and Valentin Soka running 27:37.
Mhm.
Did we learn anything about these guys? Maybe Soka's better than we thought, but
Yeah, I think Soka and Klinger, because I think when we've talked about Klinger in the past, I think at least I'll speak for myself. I've bet on his experience, right? And that's why I said, hey, he's someone to keep an eye out for in the 5K at indoor nationals. He has the experience. He knows how to deal with these kind of races. But you never bet on him because you think he's just fast, like that much faster than
yeah,
everybody else. Running 27:11 tells me, he's not the fastest guy in the country, but he's not that far off. Like, in terms of raw fitness and his ability to go toe to toe with pretty much anyone in the country, 27:11 tells me, hey, he's pretty darn close. So I think that gives you a lot of confidence in him to be able to compete in basically any kind of setting when it comes to the 5K, 10K at the national meet, which I think is very important in today's day and age when there are going to be some really, really fast NCAA finals. So I really liked what we saw about him. Kim Nagenich, I think this feels about right considering where he's been at. And yeah, I think Soka is the one where it's like, hey, he's just a tier above where you expected him to be at this point.
Is Dennis Kipnagetich still the most underrated long distance talent in the NCAA?
Yes.
Yeah,
He's the person that you don't know if you don't follow the sport super closely, and yet he's going to be at the top, near the top of every single race that he runs in.
I think we feel confident saying that Kipkurui, Samuel, Klinger, Kipnagetich will be All-American locks in the 10K this spring.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say the same thing about Soka?
So, I mean, we're using up 4 locks already, right? So there's not a whole lot of locks left. I'm trying to think of anybody else that I would want to put in there.
Like Victor Kiprop? Is he even still racing? I think he is.
Abdallah's out of eligibility.
He is. Kiprop still has eligibility. He was second.
I think Bosley. Is Bosley still have outdoor or no? Is he out?
I don't know. I actually don't know.
Bosley, I think I would put ahead of him if he was there. Hansen, if he
you like Drew Bosley as a lock in the 10K right now? He was 12th and 9th at 3K 5K.
I'm not even saying that he's a lock. I just think I would. I feel a little bit more comfortable with him than Soka.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't think there's that many guys ahead of Soka now that we're going through this list that I would say, yeah, he's probably a lock. Just because
Bosley almost certainly has eligibility this spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Bosley. I think, I mean, the 10K I think he's better suited for.
He is better suited. I agree. That is his better event, even though he's barely ever contested it. But
yeah. So I like him if he's healthy and fit to be an All-American lock as well. So yeah, I don't really. I think I only have like six guys that I feel that strongly about in this event. Now, I mean, there's guys like Evans Kirui, there's the BYU guys. I don't love saying that they're definitely going to be all Americans though.
Interesting. I'm just looking at last year's. Yeah. You know what? I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. What about Patrick? Does Patrick Kiprop even have eligibility for the spring? Let me check.
That I don't know. That's the other one.
He was an All-American 8th last year. Tiefer says no. Don't know if that's true. We'll see. Let's move off of that. We'll move off of the 10K stuff. We'll maybe come back to it later for a different performance. But I want to go back to the 1500s.
Yes.
Talk about Raleigh relays. Margot Appleton runs 4:05 to get a nice win. NCAA number 4 all time, I should mention. Mm-hmm. Nice win over Kimberly May of Providence and Salma El Badra of South Carolina, both running 4:06. Is there a major takeaway?
No, I've always been really high on Appleton. I thought I was pretty excited about what she could do in the 1500 meter or in the mile finals, and it didn't obviously pan out that way. So this doesn't come as a shock. I mean, I think El Badra comes out as a nice winner here. That
Is
hey,
she the
for
biggest winner relative to expectations?
I think so,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think May. This isn't that surprising for her to. I mean, she finished last year with a I think 408 PR in the 1500 for
She
her
finished in
to
406.
or did she run a 406? Okay,
Maybe. I'll check.
no, no, I'm looking at no. That's wrong actually. I don't know if
She's
she
run
ran even
for
that fast.
no, maybe I'm wrong. Did I just make
414.
that up? She ran 407
Okay.
multiple times.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think obviously it's not that much of a PR, but I think going toe to toe with Appleton and May, who are almost certainly locks to making the final of the 1500 meter, I think that's a really good sign, and I think shows that she can hang with pretty much anyone in the country.
Shin Flockhart fades to 417. I don't know. I didn't watch the race. I didn't get to see the race or like if something happened. I don't know if she was tripped. I don't know if she's been ill. I don't know if she's injured. I have no idea what happened. So it's maybe unfair to speculate. But what's your concern level with her right now after kind of a indoor track season, tough national meet performance? Now you get to a
Yeah.
417. Is there like what's your concern level at 1 out of 10?
Honestly, it's not that much different than what it was pretty much the entire indoor season. I don't think this really changes that concern level all that much. I think I'm probably at a 6 or a 7, and the real only reason it's not higher is we haven't seen the best out of her for a little while now, and we've been kind of waiting for her to really break out of whatever this small slump is, and we haven't seen her quite do it. I mean, May obviously didn't have the season that we were expecting, I think, either during the indoor season, but she breaks out and runs a 406, and so that's a really good sign. But yeah, I just haven't felt a ton of confidence in Flockhart this entire year.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. We'll hold off on that any further discussion there, but I do want to jump back to the 10Ks this time, though.
Hmm.
Talking about Grace Hartman at the Raleigh Relays, and of
Yes.
course, we'll talk about a faster performance after her. But NC State's Grace Hartman more or less solos a 31:20, pretty much for the second half of the race. Um, NCAA number three, well, I guess NCAA number four all time
Yeah.
after a recent performance. Fun fact, in addition to NC State's Grace Hartman running as fast as she did, West Virginia's Joy Knockout runs 32:21. Missouri's Monica Wanjiku runs 32:21. Eastern Kentucky's Edna Chalule runs 32:22, and Penn State's Florence Cameron runs 32:26. Each of those times, if you exclude the national meet and postseason, like preliminaries, whatever, because they don't count that in the TFRS results, from last year would have been listed in the top 10 of the entirety of last year for times perspective. This is the first time that I felt like an international presence from the
Mm.
recruiting that we've been seeing in the influx really impacted a race, and it's going to impact the national leaderboard. We'll see if that actually impacts the overall All American positions. But what are your thoughts on Hartman running as fast as she did, and then B, the level, the caliber of depth that we're seeing now?
Yeah, I think for Hartman, she just continues to break through the ceiling every single race. It's not too dissimilar to some of the people that we've talked about, like Margot Langon, who just every time you kind of feel like you have a beat on what they're capable of, they go up another level. And 31:20 certainly is that. I don't. I, this might be hyperbolic, and we're living in the moment a little bit here, but I don't like if I put the over under at 1.5 national championships for Grace Hartman. What are you saying?
Under. I could see her getting one, but I think in this era right now, with how many women are like Kosgei and Lemongol are
Yeah.
still so young.
Oh
And
yeah. No,
Oregon just
absolutely.
brought in Diana Chirotich, who we'll talk about in a separate podcast. But I think she gets one, but I don't know if I see her getting more than one.
Yeah, and that's fair, but I mean, she just seems to have as high of a ceiling of really anyone in the country, honestly. Like I think you could even include like maybe not, obviously not Lemon Goal. I think Lemon Goal and maybe Kosgei are have the highest ceiling of anybody. But after that, I mean, Hartman's still so young, and she just seems to be improving at such a rapid pace that I really do think there's a good chance she ends up winning more than one title.
Here's the
It's
thing. What's more likely? Does she? So right now she's currently top 10 all time in the mile and the 10K. I
mm,
think it's realistic to say that she could end up in the top 10 all time for the 3K and the
yes,
5K by the time her collegiate career ends. What's more likely? 4 top 10 all time finishes or more than one national title?
4 top 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
easily.
Isn't that
I
crazy? She could
Yeah.
realistically not win a national title, but be listed in the top 10 all time in 4 different events, 4 different distances.
Yeah. Yeah, she's unreal, and so yeah, just another great performance. I think she's someone that is like the person waiting in the wings of, hey, if someone trips up or someone gets hurt, she's right there. I think to take advantage already this year, and obviously she's got plenty of time to still pick up national titles. As far as the depth of the NCAA, now that we're really seeing this international transfusion into the league, I think it's good, and I know that's not really what you're asking, but I think it is beneficial. I think we're seeing men and women pushed to another level because they have to be. Like if they want to be able to compete, I mean, it's the Grace Hartman thing. Like, is Grace Hartman running as fast as she is if she's not having to go against some of these all time greats? Maybe, but I think it's certainly helpful that she's got a real like high target to try to attain. Now, is this taking away opportunities to be all Americans to make the national meet for more of the domestic talent? Absolutely, but I mean, in a NCAA world that is more professionalized, like that's just going to be a reality that you're going to have to go up against the best to get these honors, and it's going to be more difficult than it ever was before. But I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
No, I agree. I mean, I've been pretty consistent in my narrative of saying, like, hey, the Americans have done really well. Like, I
Yeah,
know the influx of international talent has kind of headlined names like, Doris Lemongol and Hilda Olamwamwe and now Pamela Kosgei. And I'm sure Diana Jirotich, we'll talk about later, the All Americans are coming in. I get it. It's very prevalent. But also, like, you look at some of these names who are now rising to a top caliber star before they're even at junior eligibility. Look at Grace
mhm,
Hartman. Look at Sophia Kennedy. Look at Amy. Well, Amy Bunch is Australian, I
yeah,
guess, but look at Peyton Noe, right? Like, I
yep.
mean, these women are elevating their game with the rest of the country. So, like, I think it's fair to be like, hey, all these international names are coming in, but I think the rest of the NCAA is keeping up, I should say. I will say though that these results was the first time where I noticed that outside of Hartman, the international presence really made itself known in a significant series of results. Um, and so that was, and I'm not saying sure, like internationals have won titles before, but from a depth perspective, it's the first time I've noticed that.
We're going to see more and more internationals as like a team's third and fourth and fifth like best runners in a way that we did not before. Really,
Agreed.
before it was, hey, you have budget for getting a couple of international athletes that can really headline your team. Now it's going to be, not only are you going to get those type of athletes, you're going to get the type of athletes that are rounding out your lineup and providing depth. And so that's where I like we're noticing you're going to see the performance list and the regional qualifiers be a lot more backfilled with internationals rather than just super top heavy, as we've seen in the past.
Let's move off of Raleigh, but then go back to the 10, where we saw
Yes,
another New Mexico woman run another NCAA number 2 all time. And I say another New Mexico woman, I meant a New Mexico runner. Pamela Kosgei runs 31:07. I want to say, is that correct?
3102.
Are we confident?
That's
Is
what
it?
it is on the
It's 31:02,
record.
which is exactly what I said. And totally did not say 31:07. Did I get that on the graphic? I just want to double check and say that. double check here. Okay, no, I got it. Whew, all right. I don't know why I thought 3107, but I saw on the graphic, I was like, oh my God, did I get that right? No, I got it right. 3102. Thoughts?
Seems about right. This one, I don't have a lot of words for. It's super fast, 12 seconds though, behind what Parker Valby did a year ago.
I do think that this is important from the national meet perspective. Because think about this, 3102, you're like, what woman would never run the national meet 10K at 3102? But some could argue that steeplechase is arguably just Pamela Kosgei's best event. Like, and I know Doris, like, is there a world where she does the 5K, 10K double? Does she do the 5K steeple double? I don't, can you do the 10K steeple double? Is that even realistic?
No, because you'd have to run the steeple prelim and then, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, you probably couldn't do that, right?
Yeah, let me look at the schedule.
I'm sure.
I mean, yeah,
tried it.
We can't be putting boundaries on how well these men and women have been running. So,
but let's just say
that would
this:
be pretty difficult.
Is there like what? I just think that this is important from the sense of it can impact what we thought Kosgei could run. I thought it'd be realistic that she runs just the steeple or the 5K steeple double. I think now it's even more realistic that she runs the 10K, 5K double, especially if Doris Lemmengal opts to not contest the 10K at the national meet this year.
Yeah, and I always thought that, hey, doing that 5K, 10K double made a lot more sense for her. You just avoid Lemmengal. Like, I know you can run against her during the regular season, and hey, if you like beat her or whatever, then sure, yeah, run the steeple. But I would be avoiding Doris Lemmengal if you feel like you can win national titles in other events, which clearly she can if she can run 3102.
Pamela Kosgei. I'm sorry, no, not Pamela Kosgei. So Lexi Halliday-Lowry will probably run the steeple as well. I find it hard to believe that she wouldn't. So if they run the steeple, if both Lemmengal and Lexi Halliday run the steeple, is it just going to be a runaway title for Kosgei in that sense?
In the 10K?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean...
So the result's not surprising, but I do think it has implications for the postseason.
Well, wait a second. Is Olomamwe still have eligibility? I know she hasn't been running lately, but...
Yes, she does. Yeah.
Okay. She's the only... if she's at her best, then it's not... Maybe not.
Yeah, I just haven't seen that from her, so,
yeah.
She
still hasn't been... Yeah, no, I think that... But to your point, yeah, I think it probably is the most wide open event for Kosgei, and I think it makes a lot of sense for her to prioritize that.
Let's stick on the 10K, but go back to Raleigh relays because we can't make up our mind. Missouri's Drew Rogers takes home a marquee win, 28-14. Great win for him over a handful of guys who went under 22-20, 22-30. 4 other men went under 22-20. This is now the second big win that Drew Rogers has had in addition to his SEC 3K title in the last few weeks. What, right now, percentage-wise, what chance would you give him to be an All-American in the 10K? Or just flat out All-American in any event, period.
Yeah. I'll give him like a 20% chance.
I think I would have gone like 30%. Because I think his 30-35. Because I think his momentum right now is he's scary good. Like he's got some of the better momentum. He's fast rising. Like now he's beginning to throw down times and wins that make you go like, oh, this is like a no joke guy. So
there were so many men that went under 28-30 at Raleigh. Yeah, this is ridiculous.
I mean, the top end wasn't crazy impressive, but it was a big win. It was a nice win. I have to admit, I didn't love the field. Even in the preview, I even said like, I don't love this field, but nice win, great win.
Yeah, and this isn't to say that he can't be All-American. I just think you're looking at, hey, there's probably a set of like 5 to 8 guys that you feel comfortable that are probably going to be All-American in the 10K, and then he's in that next group, kind of. I think of another 5 to 8 guys that you're like, yeah, I think you're going to be competing for it, and if he continues to improve and puts himself in that position when it comes to nationals, it's hard to bet against him with his current trajectory.
Moving off of that, 5Ks at Raleigh, Rocky Hansen wins men's race 13:22. Alex Millard wins the women's race 15:27. Pretty unexciting. Like, it's very predictable stuff. I actually literally got Rocky Hansen's time correct. Like, there's really not a whole lot to say here unless you have anything further to add.
Nope. Good runs by everyone involved.
Good runs. Men's steeplechase, 8:33 mark for Kristian Imroth of Eastern Kentucky, your favorite school. Thoughts here on a win like this?
Yeah, this is another one that we usually see like high 830s, low 840s at Raleigh. We don't know, and again, steeplechase is one of those events early in the season that you usually don't see a lot of quick times in. It's an event that everybody very much gets a lot faster as the season goes on, and so you'll see a lot of sub 830s by the time the season's over. So to run 833 and very convincingly win, I thought that was a very good performance, and I think he's someone that we had an eye on last year, and I don't think finished the season super well. So I think he's clearly moving in a good direction, and is someone that would not be surprising to see him finish as an All-American at this point.
Yeah, Penn Relay's winner, ran 8:35 last year. Love the momentum that he picked up on the winter months and has now since translated to the outdoor oval, his prime event, steeplechase. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a much sturdier, much more reliable name. We've got guys like James Corrigan. We've got guys like Estanis Ruiz. We've got Nathan Mountain, if you want. I think he's coming back. CJ Singleton. But Parker Stokes is gone. Yassine Sato is gone. Yabel Sibierda is gone. Maybe a Montana State guy will hop in there. Victor Kipkurui, who knows? He ran 8:39 in this race. Percent chance that Kristian Imroth is an All-American?
I think it's like a 50% chance. I think
50-50.
he's right on. Like he's you have to be better than him if you want to be an All-American. I think he's kind of that line.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, I think other guys are going to come out. Well, I guess now that I think about it, some of the international guys, like Matthew Kosgei of New Mexico, right? You think about what he ran. I think he ran something stupid fast, like 8:18 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's going like Imroth is going to have to get better throughout the season. Like I'm saying, like he can't like say, oh, I ran 8:33. Like this is going to be good enough to be an All-American. He's going to be needing to run like mid 820s to be able to be an All-American. But if you start the season running 8:33, more often than not, we see those guys running low 820s, mid 820s by end of season.
I agree. Yeah, I'm not worried about him. I'm actually my worry radar for him. He's not on my worry radar.
No.
Good races from everyone else. Cole Mattinson runs 8:37 to emerge as the second best collegiate in that field. But otherwise, I don't like, Bismack Kipchirchir 8:37, Sohail Bafrizi of D2 Wingate 8:38, Victor Kipkurui, Alan Kiplagat 8:39. Kipkurui, man, is just such a frustrating guy to analyze. I can't figure him out.
When we did our transfer rankings, I was arguing him as like a top 10 guy, and I think there was a lot of evidence for it. He was coming off of a year where he showed promise on the grass. He was second or third, I think third in the steeplechase as a freshman. So much eligibility, and then transfers to Texas A&M, and I thought they got one of the best guys you could possibly get in terms of value across all three seasons, and it just has not been that way so far, which is very frustrating.
Yeah, I found so we still have the link technically active, but I just don't have it on the site anymore. He was 9th.
Yeah,
while at UTEP.
And I think that was a reasonable thing considering what we had seen out of him so far.
Who do you think? So this is back in 2023. Who do you think was number one?
Oh man.
I'm just curious to see if you know.
Was it Nico?
No, Nico wasn't even top 10
Oh
because I
really?
had such a vendetta against him. I just didn't like him tactically. I had to say it.
Yeah. Gosh, I have no idea. Who is it?
You think about the 2010, the 2023. You know who was the man in 2023? I was like,
Why
he's the
am I
most
drawing a blank?
complete distance runner. Because I'm going to say, you're going to be like, oh, of course.
I know. This is gonna bother me.
Don't you dare look at it. I sent you the link. Don't look at it.
Oh, okay. 2023. Oh man, this is when you start having kids, your brain just stops remembering things.
I'll give you
I
a guy in orange. A guy in orange.
Guy in orange. This is really bad.
This
Really,
is
really
bad.
bad.
You should be having this. It's Fawad Masaudi.
Okay, I was gonna say Oklahoma State, but I was trying to figure out who it was on Oklahoma State. All right, that makes sense. That makes sense. The amount of
Fawad Masaudi.
eligibility that he had, and
Yeah,
he was that was one of his better years. Okay,
yeah, he was dominant.
that's good.
Some of these have held up. Others have not held up at all. So, all right, moving off of that, let's wrap it up with the women's steeple. Angelina Napoleon runs
Yeah.
9:34, runs a crazy big PR. It's like 18-second PR, I want to say, maybe even slightly in a 20-second straight up. Caitlin Stewart Barnett of Michigan State runs 9:36, a big PR for her as well. And back in third place was Gwen Good of LaSalle running, I think 9:56, something along those lines, 9:58 maybe. But Napoleon of NC State, Stewart Barnett of Michigan State. How do these results alter your idea of the All American picture right now?
Yeah, I have no idea. This is so much faster than you would expect from this caliber of women at this point of the year. I mean, it's similar to what I was saying about Imroth about, hey, this is just we don't normally see these kind of times at these meets this early in the year, and especially not by someone that's not super proven, right? I have no idea. Like this kind of tells me that I think we're going to see a lot of women run like 9:30s this year. It is my inclination. We just talked about. I mean, the top end of the steeplechase is going to be ridiculously good. So I think this doesn't tell me a whole lot other than, hey, Napoleon and Stuart Barnett have put themselves in that conversation, right? I've been talking about, I think, what Coach Hennis has been doing this year at NC State has been one of her more underrated years, even though it hasn't translated to across like team results. I thought what she's done developmentally for a lot of these women has been massive. And I think Napoleon's another great example of that. And again, I don't have a lot of confidence in either of them necessarily being All-Americans, but I think this tells you that the steeplechase is going to be very, very fast, I think, this year.
So let's say Doris Lemmengal last year won the national title in 9:15, but Olivia Markovic gone, Jeanette Schraft gone, Greta Karaneske. I don't think she's gone. Like she's listed as a senior, but
She should still be back. Yeah,
I
right.
think she's back. She's with Ole Miss now. Laura Taborda gone, Elise Thorner gone, and then you return Sophie Novak, Carrie Balaga, Taylor Lovell, Callie Doan is gone, Emma Tavella's gone, Zoe Dundon. Those are the 12 names in the finals. But so let's say throw in Lexi Halliday Lowry. We're not confident that Pamela Kosgei is going to run the steeplechase finals
That's true.
at the national meet. And then you have Doris Lemmengal. But that's three names. Maybe tack on a fourth that I'm just not aware of. Maybe there's like one of those. I think like Leah Geruto of Oklahoma. I think is going to be pretty good in the steeplechase. Maybe some other name like from Arizona State. I'm not thinking of Judy Chipkowick. Percent chance that Napoleon and then percent chance that Stuart Barnett are All Americans.
Yeah, I think Napoleon, I would give like a 25.
Oh, you're that low.
Yeah, I get nervous about making proclamations this early in the season, especially when it's like breakout performances.
Interesting.
Be-
So Stuart
So
Barnett, like more.
I would say like 20% for her as like I don't have a ton of confidence. I think you're going to be needing like I truly think we're just going to see a lot more women run really fast times because if you look at last year, like how many women do you think ran under 940 last year?
It wasn't a lot. I think it's actually like less than we think it is. I think it was
Yeah,
like,
I know how many. Do you
is it like 9?
It's 4.
Well,
That's what
that
I'm
was
like.
before. Well, that was before the national meets, right? The
Yes, before the national meet. But yeah, so like obviously, yeah, women ran way faster at regionals and nationals, but 4 during the regular season. We just saw 2
Mm.
women who weren't anywhere near like the top of the NCAA in this event run what would have been the 3rd and 4th fastest times
Mm.
all of last year.
That kind of bums me out. All right.
Sorry to
I'll
be Debbie Downer. I think could absolutely do it. I didn't give him a 0% chance. I gave him a 1 in 4 chance, but it's I think it's going to be a very as we're going to look. This event could have the biggest overhaul that we've seen in out of any of the events over the last couple of years.
Looking forward to June. If I had to say you had to take one of these women as your best chance to be an All-American, who are you taking? Are you
I'm
taking
going
Napoleon? I
Yep.
actually think, I can't believe I'm saying this because I love Napoleon's performance so much. I actually think I'm taking Stuart Burnett. I think she's a veteran. I think she's
more experience.
experienced. I think she's consistent. I think she's, sneaky dynamic. Shockingly, does not have any national meet experience on the track, which I don't like. But I think she's just been more complete, and I do think she's a veteran. I think their percent chance of All-Americans are closer to 30, 35%.
Okay, so we're not that far off. Yeah. Okay.
No, and you talked me down. Like, you talked me way down. I was like 40, 45. And then I listened to you, and I was like, well, maybe I should drop it a little bit. But great runs. Really great runs.
Yeah. And I think the reason why I'm a little bit higher on Napoleon is I just think it's going to, you need to have that high end, like ceiling to be able to do it. And I think I see that from Napoleon. I think if you're talking about, hey, who do you feel the best about making it there? I would say Stuart Barnett is the person that I would give better odds to.
And with that, nice. And you know what the craziest part is? Stanford Invite is usually this weekend.
Yeah.
It's coming next weekend. We got guys, or at least someone's going to be there. So check out our coverage for that. Go on YouTube. Check out all the Raleigh Relays interviews. Donnie Spees, of course, did a phenomenal job. We're going to have a photo album. We're going to try, I should say, to get a photo album from the 10 on the site, technical issues aside. And, of course, tons of content. It's all coming your way. Very, very excited. Go check it all out. Ben, did I miss anything?
Nope. I think that's everything. Yeah. Crazy start to the outdoor season. You can only imagine what that portends for the rest of the year. But excited to see what we continue to get to talk about. But until next time, I'll talk to you.